In the bustling city of Cebu stood an old government hospital. By day, it was overcrowded and noisy with patients, doctors rushing between wards, and families waiting anxiously in long corridors. But when the sun went down and visiting hours ended, the building took on another life. The lights dimmed, the air cooled, and the endless halls grew eerily silent except for the hum of fluorescent bulbs. The south wing of the hospital was especially notorious. It was the oldest section, built decades earlier during the post-war reconstruction. The paint peeled from its walls, the floor tiles were cracked, and the ceiling fans rattled when they turned. Few patients were assigned there anymore. Most rooms had been abandoned, left with rusting bed frames and dust-covered curtains. Among the nurses, whispers circulated about the south wing. Some said it was cursed. Others claimed they heard a woman crying softly at night. Many dismissed these as campfire stories meant to spook new employees. But even those who laughed about it avoided walking the south corridor alone. In 2011, Nurse Maria Santiago, just 24, began her first month of hospital duty. Fresh out of nursing school, she was determined to prove herself. Young, hardworking, and eager for experience, she volunteered for shifts that others disliked, night duty included. When her supervisor handed her the South Wing checklist, Maria smiled and said, "No problem, ma'am." She didn't believe in ghost stories. Hospitals were places of science and medicine. Still, as she wheeled her cart of supplies into the dim hallway that night, something about the silence unsettled her. The usual sounds of a hospital were absent. No groans of patients, no chatter of visitors, not even the beep of monitors. Only the buzz of old fluorescent lights filled the corridor. Maria began her rounds, checking each room as instructed. Most rooms were empty, save for abandoned furniture. She recorded notes on her clipboard: Room 212 vacant. Room 213, equipment removed. By midnight, she reached the far end of the wing, near the old maternity rooms. Here, the air grew colder. A faint draft swept through broken windows. That was when she heard it. At first, she thought it was the wind. But as she paused, straining to listen, she realized it was unmistakable, soft sobbing, echoing down the hall. It was the cry of a woman. Faint, broken, filled with grief. Maria froze, her pen trembling above the clipboard. She turned her head slowly toward the sound. It came from room 219, a maternity room that had not been used for years. Her pulse quickened. Maybe a patient wandered in, she whispered to herself. Gathering courage, she pushed the door open. The room was dark except for her lantern's glow. Beds stood neatly against the walls, covered in dusty sheets. No one was there. Yet on one pillow, Maria noticed something chilling, wet marks shaped like teardrops. Her skin prickled. She backed out quickly, closing the door. But as she turned, she heard it again, this time closer. The same sobbing, followed by a whisper. "Please help me." Maria's hands shook as she gripped her lantern. She stepped carefully back toward the nurse's station, her shoes squeaking against the tiles. Then she saw her. At the far end of the corridor stood a woman. She wore a faded hospital gown, stained with something dark. Her hair was long, tangled, covering her face. She was barefoot, her arms hanging loosely at her sides. "Ma'am," Maria called, forcing her voice steady. "Are you lost?" The woman didn't move. Maria took a cautious step forward. "It's okay, let me help you." The figure twitched. Her head lifted slowly. What Maria saw made her blood run cold. The woman's face was ashen, her eyes sunken hollow. Her mouth stretched unnaturally wide, opening in a silent scream. Then the sound came, a wail so loud, so shrill, it echoed through the entire wing. Maria stumbled backward, nearly dropping her lantern. She turned and ran, her footsteps pounding the floor until she reached the station where two other nurses sat. She burst in, pale and trembling. There's someone down there." The other nurses rushed to look. But when they peered down the corridor, it was empty. Only flickering lights and silence. When Maria explained what she saw, one of the nurses, an older woman named Nurse Corazon, nodded grimly. "You saw her," Corazon said softly. "The crying mother." Maria stared in disbelief. "Who is she?" Corazon lowered her voice. Years ago, before you were born, a young woman was admitted here. Complications during labor. Her baby died before doctors could save him. She refused to leave, crying night after night in that room. They say she passed away too, still holding her baby. Since then, nurses hear her. Some see her. Always at night. Maria felt her stomach drop. She cries at night, Corazon added, and she does not like being disturbed. Maria tried to shake off the story. Ghosts weren't real, she told herself. It was stress, fatigue, imagination. But 2 nights later, during another south wing duty, she felt it again. The smell came first, a foul metallic stench, like blood and rot. It drifted through the corridor, growing stronger near room 219. As she passed the door, it creaked open on its own. The crying began again, louder this time, almost pleading. Maria's legs trembled. She wanted to run, but something drew her in. She stepped inside. The room was dark. In the far corner, the woman sat on the floor, cradling something in her arms. Maria's breath caught. The figure rocked back and forth, whispering to the bundle she held. Then the bundle shifted. A small, gray hand slipped out, a baby's hand, limp and lifeless. Maria gasped. The woman's head snapped up, revealing black, hollow sockets where eyes should have been. Soil and blood dripped from her mouth as she wailed. "Don't take him away!" The lantern flickered violently, then went out. Maria screamed and fled, running blindly until she collapsed against the station desk. Maria begged her supervisor for reassignment, but staff shortages forced her back into the south wing a week later. That night, she carried a rosary in her pocket, whispering prayers as she walked. The corridor was silent, unnaturally so. Not even the hum of lights. As she approached room 219, her rosary beads snapped in her hand, scattering across the floor. The door creaked open. This time, she did not hear crying. Instead, she heard the faint sound of a baby's lullaby, off-key haunting. She peeked inside. The woman stood by the bed, rocking the bundle in her arms. Slowly, she turned, revealing the baby's face. It wasn't a baby at all. It was a lump of rotting flesh, worms crawling across it. The woman extended her arms toward Maria. "Hold him," she whispered. "Please help me." Maria screamed, stumbling backward. The figure began gliding toward her, her bare feet never touching the ground. Her wail rose again, shaking the walls, rattling the lights until they burst one by one. Maria ran, faster than she ever had in her life. She didn't stop until she burst out into the main building, collapsing in front of a doctor. Maria refused to return to the south wing. She requested transfer, and though she never spoke of what she saw in detail again, her hair turned noticeably gray within a year. Other nurses continued to report strange things, crying in the empty rooms, shadows moving in the hall, and sometimes the sound of a lullaby with no source. The south wing was eventually shut down permanently. Patients were moved, doors locked. But even now, hospital workers say that if you walk past that corridor at night, you can hear it still. A woman weeping softly, forever bound to the hospital where she died. Thank you for listening to tonight's story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And remember, not every shadow is empty, and not every voice in the dark is in your head. Good night, and stay safe.